everyone, Trista McIver here, Program Advisor with AMC NPO Solutions. Today on the Strategic Nonprofit, we will be discussing elements on how to start a not-for-profit. Today on the podcast, I have invited Dr. Marat Ressin. He has over 20 years of experience with international business and real estate development and has completed his PhD in economics with a specialization in small business crisis management. Dr. Marat Ressin has successfully invented and rehabilitated over 30 businesses from a variety of industries. He is the founder of YEDI in Toronto, Ontario, and also carries the roles there of acting professor, program advisor, manager of partner and investor relations. Dr. Marat Ressin is also an instructor at Schulich Executive Education Centre in Toronto, Ontario, and also a professor of small business economics and head of the academic department in Plekhanov, Russia, University of Economics in Moscow, Russia. Wow, that was a handful. You have done a lot in your lifetime, sir.
You did it. Thank you, and hello to everyone.
Welcome to the Strategic Nonprofit Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, first of all, we had a chat earlier today, which was great, and just to get to know you a little bit better, and also what you've done and how you help NPOs. You started this organization called YEDI. Can you explain a little bit more about that, and also the program that you offer for people, for executive directors that are just starting out?
Sure. So YEDI is York Entrepreneurship Development Institute. Mm-hmm. It's a charitable organization and a university-linked business accelerator, which runs different programs, mostly at Schulich School of Business in York University in Toronto. We're doing well. There's a Swedish organization called UBI Global that ranks university business accelerators every couple of years. And for several years, they ranked us as number one in the world. So we're proud to see our results, yes. So we run different programs for startups, for international entrepreneurs. And from the very beginning, and it was very important for me and for all of us, we run a program for non-for-profits. The idea of the program is to help founders of non-for-profit organizations to be more business savvy, because all of us, I'm included because I'm the president of a charitable organization as well, right? We all have big hearts and we want to make this world a better place. But I believe we need, on top of that, we need some knowledge, some practical knowledge, how to do it better. I normally say, think of a car. When a car is going on the road, why is it doing so? There are several answers. You may say, it's because somebody is suffering there and I want to help them. Or you may give a different answer. That because it's the fraction of the wheel on the road, right?
Yes, right.
That's two different reasons. So if you have a big heart and if you want to help somebody somewhere, but you still need the wheels to go, right? Absolutely. So this practical knowledge that we give does not substitute this willingness to help, right? It just gives additional tools and instruments to do it better and to be less dependent, let's say, on grants, donations, to be sustainable.
Yeah, well, exactly. And we heard about you guys through your outbound reach to us, and we did a podcast already, as you know, with Rick, and we're happy to know that there is something like this out there to be able to help not-for-profits and their founders, because everybody has a great vision, but how do you get to that next level? How do you get funders? How do you explore your vision? So in terms of visioning, please share what you would, your knowledge on how to guide someone through that.
Absolutely. So I believe that when somebody wants to start a non-for-profit organization, as well as any organization or any project. Everything in life is a project. Even life itself is a project, right?
Yes.
So everything has to be considered this way. We need to plan it, and we start from visioning.
Mm.
What's visioning? Again, if you see a box, like how many things you may do with a box? Not too many, right? You may put something on it, you may step on it. What else? But if you switch on a light and you see it's not just a box, it's a computer, how many things now you may do with this item, right? So visioning, generally speaking, is the ability to switch on a light on your project.
Mhm.
Now, when we're talking about non-for-profit organizations, there are many different segments of stakeholders that we have to consider, right? We start our non-for-profit because we know somebody is suffering and we want to make, at some point, this world a better place, right? And according to my experience, most of the founders of non-for-profit are people who used to suffer or suffer now, or their relatives experience these problems, and they know, they feel it, and they want to help. And this is very important. So we know what kind of problem we want to solve. However, we have to consider different other stakeholders in our organization, because when we work with for-profit startups, we think of customers. For non-for-profit, customers consist of different segments. It's beneficiaries, right? People who suffer and we want to help them. Donors, right? People who donate us time or money or time, right? So we call them volunteers, right? Sponsors, which is again very different segment. Government, if we want to apply for grants and if we want the government to help us, and so on and so forth. You mentioned this broadcast with Rick Phillips, and he addressed this issue already, the way how you communicate with different segments. But before you actually communicate, you have to think, what are the problems that they have, right? As I normally say, don't sell soup to donors. Rick mentioned it. Different segments have their different problems. Just to show an example, if you think of a toy store, who is the customer? Is it kids or parents?
Parents.
Will parents buy something if kids don't like this toy? I doubt so.
Probably
So,
not. Yeah.
so the good answer is both. It's
Right.
both.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So for non-for-profit organization, it's all this segment that create your vision. They all very important part of your customer, let's say customer base, right? And we have to consider all of them. What kind of donors may be interested to work with us? What kind of sponsors, and so on. I normally say, create a 3D picture of your vision, and don't go anywhere until you see this 3D picture, right? If you look at a pyramid, right? If you look from one perspective, it's a triangle and nothing else. If you look from other perspective, it's a square and nothing else, right? And so on. So
Yes.
every segment have to be able to see exactly what they need. They have to understand that we understand that their problems, not our problems, their problems, and we address it. And our venture, the vision of our venture, it's what they need and nothing else. And that's the way, for example, how we started YEDI 6.5 years ago on the highest level in Schulich School of Business, with support of high-level donors and mentors, and so on. So this is very important, and we work with our participants to help them to develop this understanding for their specific cases.
So with the vision, like visioning, so that would be figuring out what their target market for.
Yeah. So it's always sorry.
That's okay, for the community that they're wanting to help, where they could look for funders. So like you're giving an example of, so say in the health field, so you're not going to go to somebody in the sports field and look for donation, possibly. I mean, but then somebody maybe in the sports field has a family member that has that condition or that type of thing, so you have to, I guess is what you're saying, that you have to sort of um, focus your target onto something, or is that something else?
So first of all, the first step is to understand that the vision is not a flat thing. Okay, it's a 3D picture which consists of interest of all different stakeholders. Right? Then
Okay.
you think of a specific problem for this segment. You know the problem for your beneficiaries, but what's the problem for your donors? What's the problem for your sponsors that your venture may solve? What's the problem? What is the current existing solution?
Right.
What's the
Yes.
solution that you may offer, and why is it better? Not the solution for your beneficiaries only, the solution for other stakeholders as well, which is different.
Right. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So, what's your value proposition? And when I say value proposition, that means how you make their life better by the means of your venture, by providing your service or products. And then it's one more important element. I call it bottom line, which means how the society in general will be different because of your venture on the market. And for every segment, so write this, for example, write this for your beneficiaries, then write this for your donors, write this for your sponsors, write this for government, and then create a 3D picture to make sure it's the same item, right? From one side, it's what your beneficiaries want. From the other side, it's what your donors and sponsors will want, and so on. I can give you one little example.
Yes.
One lady came to us, and she has a wonderful charity which exists for many years. She creates programs for teenage girls. Okay, so she has 3,000 teenagers on her list, and she said, "You know what? We have donors, we have grants from the government, but we are struggling with the sponsors. Every time I ask for sponsorship, people are like, eh." I said, "Okay, so let's think. Who sells anything to your customers? Let's say, right? So if you put this question to yourself, everything's very clear. Okay, the girls tomorrow will become ladies, right? Who sells anything to ladies?
Media, social media, Instagram, all that stuff.
I mean, what kind of businesses sell any product to ladies? Maybe boutiques, for example, right?
Oh, okay.
Perfume stores,
On Amazon.
and everything, right? Correct? Correct? So I said, come to this type of ventures and tell them, hey guys, what's their problem? They want more sales, right? They want new generation to know about their brand, right?
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So come them and say, you know what? We have 3,000 teenage girls in our list. Do you want them to recognize the brand in future when they will become customers of yours? And all of them, all the potential sponsors said, for sure. Like this, immediately, she created the list of sponsors. That's how proper clarification of vision works. And we discussed all of this during our program.
So yeah, it sounds like because you're kind of targeting your outbound specifically, if it would be email outbound or even asking for sponsorship, but targeting it to the specific group that you're looking for, as you said. So if it's a donor, if it's this, it's you can't just use just one blanket way to approach. You have to, It
has to be a very different side of your 3D vision
for
every segment that you're working with.
Right.
Yeah. And during our course, we give different tools and instruments, how to do it, how to understand it better for yourself. And by the way, coming back to our program, now with this situation with pandemic, as I always say, see the problem as an opportunity, right? So this problem, right? This problem gave us an opportunity because we're transferring now our program to online platform, right? And previously, only people who may commute to York University in Toronto were able to attend, right?
Exactly.
But now this is first time we run this program online, and we have participants from British Columbia, from Quebec, from Manitoba, I believe, and from all the other places, which is great. We have bigger
Oh,
influence.
that's fantastic, right? And you probably, I mean, eventually you probably would have gone to an online platform just because everybody's doing it, you know, like it's sort of the way of the future. But this pandemic definitely sky catapulted many people and organizations into this world. And I was chatting with, I think it was Maria at YEDI, and you know, she was talking to me about your course, and this was before the pandemic, and how it's available in Ontario, blah blah blah. And then the next time I'm chatting with you guys, it's like, nope, it's everybody from across Canada. So I'm sharing with people that need some help starting their not-for-profit organizations, and getting them to reach out to you guys. So that's great.
Absolutely, we are really happy to have people from all the little corners of our beautiful country. And also, we're developing now a high-level online platform, and we will include some artificial intelligence inside this platform. So it will not be only like lecturing, communicating with participants, not only connection them with the mentors, but we also will give them instruments to play with their models, and to see how how will they execute this venture with this model and with that model. So it's also a very good addition to what we may offer.
That's great. Yeah. And you know how you mentioned a little bit about the stakeholders in our chat earlier. Why are they so vital to a nonprofit organization? I'm sure a lot of people know, but maybe new founders maybe need a little bit more explanation, or you know, just is it just the now, or is it important for the future too? Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, if you create a non-for-profit organization, it has to be sustainable. This is a very important thing. It has to be sustainable. It's the biggest problem of non-for-profits that we have here in Canada. We have great government that issues grants and help and all this stuff, right? But people are trained to rely on it too much. And then if you have the grant, you provide service. If you don't have the grant, you don't provide service, which is terrible. You know, I know one charitable organization that had a huge problem because they used to receive money from specific source, and then this source wasn't able to support them anymore, and it was a quarter of their budget. And it was a huge problem because it's a literal soup kitchen, and it was a huge problem. So they came to us, and we suggested them to change the model. And again, this is also important stuff that we discuss with our participants. So if the venture wants to be sustainable, they have to have this picture, and they have to have all the stakeholders involved in the activities of this organization, and they have to have diversified sources of funding. For example, at YEDI, we have, of course, we have donors, we have sponsors, sometimes we have money from the government, and also we have paying customers. This is one more important thing that I want to mention. I believe, and I tell it to everyone, it's a very good stand for a non-for-profit organization to sell part of their product or service on the market for two reasons. So they develop their product or service for their beneficiaries. Of course, that's the main purpose why they exist. But I highly recommend to sell part of it on the market. Why? Because first, it will generate them some additional revenue and will make them less dependent on grants and donations, let's say. And secondly, the market will teach them. You know, when people pay their dollars for your service, they will tell you, okay, we want better, we want this, we want that, versus the beneficiaries, they'll say thank you because you provide it for free or with a reduced price, right? So it's legal, it's normal, and I highly recommend every non-for-profit organization to think of selling part of their product and service on the market.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very that's a great advice, because I know so many, especially during COVID and this time of year, grants from the government drying up, and there has to be another way of getting your revenue. There
Yeah,
has to,
remember,
right?
sorry.
Yeah, there has to be different avenues, because um, relying on the government, as we can see, it's not so reliable. And yeah, so that's a really good piece of advice for them. Thinking out of the box, right? I mean, T-shirts, the course, like whatever, right? Just
So
get
t-shirts is in addition to what non-for-profit does, okay? But
yeah.
what I recommend to think how to sell part of what they do, their own product or service, okay? If
Okay.
Yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, YEDI is an educational charity, right? We have many different programs for Canadians, for-profits, non-for-profits, young entrepreneurs, so on.
Yeah.
All of our programs are free for Canadians. However, we designed the program for international entrepreneurs. If they want to come to bring their business to Canada, we
Mm-hmm.
teach them how Canadian and North American market work, and we charge them the market price.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is our service, okay? We developed it to provide for free for Canadian organizations. However, if we already developed it, right,
Yes.
why cannot we sell it somewhere? So we sell it to international companies. As a Canadian charity, we don't have to provide them for free, right? We do
Yeah.
have scholarships, of course, for those who need it, right? But
Yeah.
generally speaking, we may sell it. Remember, I mentioned that charity that lost part of their budget.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what we suggested them, it was very successful. The
Yes.
idea was, so the charity was literal soup kitchen. So they purchased food and they delivered using the labor of volunteers. They delivered it to people in need,
Yeah.
old and big and very respectable charity. But then the idea of thinking is the following: where people sell prepared food. How do we call the business that sells prepared food? It's restaurant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what we suggested them is to use part of their annual budget and to create a physical restaurant, okay, with the kitchen and two halls, and
Yeah.
then make it tender. So organization that will run this restaurant, instead of paying rent, will provide food for their beneficiaries. See,
Mhm.
it's a very different model. It's outside of the box,
Yeah.
and in this model, they are almost independent from grants and donations. All the grants and donations go as an addition to what they have.
Right.
Right?
Yes. 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 Oh, yeah. No, that's brilliant. That's great way to create the sustainability
Exactly.
that they
And this
need.
is very important. So don't start a venture until you clarify your vision and until you convince yourself that you will be able to be sustainable. And by the way, if you have a sustainable venture, it's much easier to get donations and sponsorships because people care about how will you use your venture. For example, if somebody wants to give their name to something or maybe name of their late parents or something like that, they
Hmm.
don't want to give it to something that will die tomorrow, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So pretty often we know our graduates win this type of competition when somebody wants to give the name, for example, of their
Mhm.
parents or relatives or something,
Yeah.
because they always may prove that this venture will exist forever. And everything related to business have to be planned, everything, okay? And non-for-profit, the same way. It's an organization, has to be planned, everything has to be planned. So at the end of our program, everyone comes with a good business plan, financial projections, ability to pitch their ideas to different stakeholders,
Mhm.
and that's what helps our graduates to be successful.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. It's good to have, to know that you have something after. There's a lot of people that take courses, they go to university, they come out, and they can't really do anything with what they have. In some ways, but this, you're able to give them a really good head start. Really
Yeah,
good.
what you mentioned is a big problem with our education. As a university professor, I agree with it absolutely, and that's why, yeah, that's why our model at YEDI is very different. So all our instructors are acting business people,
Right.
people who involved with the non-for-profit organizations and with businesses from all the different sectors.
Yeah.
We don't have pure academics who just sit in the lab and then they go and teach. That's not what we do. And
Yeah.
also, if you go to our website, www.yedinstitute.org, you may see a long list of mentors. All our mentors are volunteers, high-level professionals from all the different fields. Because sometimes somebody will bring startup from medical field, from fintech. I know how to do business, but I don't know the details of medical business, right? Or fintech, or whatever business is it.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's why we have high-level mentors who help our participants with all the different questions related to their specific sectors.
That's really neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
advisors,
And
because you're not the expert on everything. I mean,
no,
I'm not,
no.
I mean, we try, but, but that's amazing that you have, advisors from different walks of life of not-for-profits, or as you say, the medical field, maybe the geoscientists, that, and they can help
Food
um,
industry, everything.
guide them in a good direction of where they need to go, who they might need to speak to, and that's
Yeah.
great.
So how the structure of our program works, we have instructors.
Mhm.
We also have program advisors who connected to this specific venture and will help them
Yeah.
throughout their way during the program and after.
Mhm.
And we have mentors, and program advisors decide when and which mentor have to be connected.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the organization during the program, and by the way, the program takes a semester. It's once a week, but we
Okay.
assign many milestones in between. So we work together to develop this venture with all the details. So when people graduate, they still connected with their program advisors, with mentors, and
Mhm.
we do different alumni events. We invite interesting people, some important connections from all the different fields, like legal stuff, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything. Yeah. So people always feel, connected with this big YEDI family.
Yes. Yeah. A good resource.
Yeah.
Very good resource. So is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe I missed, or anything for our listeners?
Well, there are many, many, many things that I'm happy to discuss, right? But in this short period of time, I think it's okay. But what I want to say that
Yes. Here
please come to our program, right? So the next cohort will be started in March, and I believe we will open the application portal in something in the mid-December.
we go. Okay.
It is to say that our programs, since it's the high-level programs and they are free, of course,
Yes.
uh, they are competitive. So for our for-profit stream, we have approximately 30 applications per seat. For non-for-profit stream, it's much easier. It's approximately 4 to 5 applications per seat, but
Okay.
it's still competitive. But we try to help everyone. Even if we cannot accept people at this moment to the program, we always try to give some advice, and maybe next time we will be able to accept them.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. And if you want to learn more, it's www.yediinstitute.org.
YED Institute, YEDinstitute.org.
YEDI Thanks, Marat. Very nice
Thank
to
you
have
very
you
much. It was a pleasure to
today.
be with you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
I will try to not speak with a heavy Russian accent in return, but I will fail.
Oh, that's
I'm
fine.
kidding. I'm kidding.
It is who you are, right? Today on the Strategic Nonprofit, we will be talking about not-for-profit. No, yeah, of course. Okay.
Everyone is pregnant here, so every time you call, somebody's here, somebody's not.
Yeah, right. Okay, so there's always somebody.